r.java file. Hello everyone, I will speak to you today about the r.java file. So this is going to be a heck of a video. It's going to be general information about the r.java file, but you really need to know about it. So please pay attention to every single detail. Okay, so the r.java file is an auto-generated file by Android Studio. Now, you know that there are two parts of an Android application project. First one is the XML file. The second one is the Java file. I love it when you say it along with me. So we do all of the design in the XML file. All the designs we made in the XML file are translated into Java code by Android Studio. And then Android Studio gives an ID to every component you designed in the XML file. So these IDs are kept in the r.java file. These IDs can be used in the Java side to perform any action on the XML files. So now if we go to Android Studio, you can see here all the project files, XML design side and the main activity Java side. Now first, I want to show you where that r.java file is. I'll choose the project option on the left side of Android Studio, and the R file is respectively under the My First Application folder, App folder, Com folder, My First Application folder. Now it could be different places in different Android Studio versions, but you do not have to know where the R file is. You will not do anything in this particular file. You just need to understand the concept of the R file, right? So when I open the R file, you will see it is generated automatically. So even if you delete this file, Android Studio will still generate it. It'll just regenerate. It'll respawn. Now you see that right here, it should not be modified by hand. For example, this is our main activity, and its name is activity_main.xml. We define this XML file in the Java side as a r.layout.activity_main. Activity_main is its ID. You can see this ID in the R file. And this procedure is for every XML file under the res folder. So if I go back to the Android project file, you're going to see everything under the res folder, such as the drawable folder, map folder, layout folder, and values folder. Okay, so now, for example, we have a text view in here. And now I will give it an ID for this particular text view. Its ID is denim. And you can give any ID you want. But now you see this text view is an XML file. And you can see its XML codes in the text section. And now I will call this text view on the Java side. First, I will define this text view here. I will give a name to this text view. The name is the text that I gave. but you can give it any name you want. And after that, I will call this text inside the onCreate method, and I will call it from the R file. So I'll write here r.id.dename, and it is now identified. So I can do any operation on this text view using the text name. I can change its background color or its text color or its text size using Java code. We call the activity layout using the same method. For example, if I write here r.layout, it will call XML files under the layout folder. Also, if I write r.string, it will call strings inside the string XML file. So what do you think? I think this is enough for the R file in this particular video. See you in the next one. Layouts. Hello, everyone. So we're going to speak about layouts in this video. So we can start to design levels in Android Studio. But we should learn layouts in order to design Android applications. So just what exactly is a layout? A layout is an interface that we use to place Android components on the Android application. So we're going to use layouts to establish components in a particular order. These components are buttons and text views, radio buttons, and anything you can pretty much think of. There are varieties of layouts, and these are linear layout, relative layout, table layout, and constraint layout. So these are the main types of layouts, and we'll speak about the first three layouts in this video. I'm going to reserve the constraint layout to another video, but most of the projects we're going to use the linear layout and the relative layout. But if you have a table design in your project, you can use the table layout. Now, because I want to stay on topic, we're going to speak about Android Studio. So let's go to Android Studio, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so you may recall that we have a project, and its name is My First Application. So when we open a new project in Android Studio, it creates a main activity XML file. So we will design right here on this page. And this page's default layout is constraint layout. Now, we will not use the constraint layout. We will start by using the linear layout. Now, if you look at the component section, you will see the layout types under the layout section. So first, I'm going to delete the constraint layout. I know, just delete it. And instead of the constraint layout, I will write linear layout. And I will do this using XML code. So I'll open the text side, delete the constraint layout. After that, I will write in linear layout. Okay, so now our layout is linear layout. But also, we're going to need to specify its orientation. Now, there are two types of linear layouts. One is horizontal. The other is vertical. You can specify it by writing this code. Now, I'll first choose the vertical orientation. So in this layout, components are placed from up to down. If you choose horizontal orientation, the components will be placed from left to right, just so you know. So for example, I'm going to put text view here. And you can see it started from up here. And then after that, I'm going to add a button. And you see it's placed under the text view here. And if I add another button, guess what? It'll be placed under that first button. So now I'm going to change the orientation of my linear layout, make it horizontal. And now if you look at the design page, you'll see everything is placed from left to right. So I'm going to change the layout width. I'll change it to wrap content. And then you can see that the buttons and text views are sorted from left to right. Now, if I add one more button, it will take its place after the second button. You know what? I should mention to you about the layout width and the layout height here. They are match parent and wrap content in here. So when you choose match parent, the layout will cover the entire screen. But if you choose wrap content, the layout will be big enough to enclose its content. Right? Make sense? Also, you can give a numerical value in here. So by that, I mean you don't have to choose just match parent or wrap content. For example, let's give a layout width of 400 dp and layout height of 500 dp. Now also, you can add more than one layout. So now I'm going to choose layout width and height match parent. And I'm going to add another layout, but this time its orientation will be horizontal. Now I added this under the vertical linear layout, and I will add 2 text views under this horizontal layout. And I will choose layout width, wrap content for horizontal layout. And now you can see these 2 text views are side by side. So in the same way, I will choose layout height, wrap content for horizontal layout. And now you can see the button too. So now these 2 text views depend on the horizontal layout, and buttons depend on the vertical layout. So actually, buttons and horizontal layout are elements of a vertical layout. Also, horizontal layout has 2 more elements that are text views. So now let me just add one more button here, and it will take its place under the other button. Now also, I can add one more layout. Now this layout is also going to be a horizontal layout. So this layout is an element of the vertical layout. I will connect these 2 buttons to this new layout, and I will do this with, over here on the XML code sign, and I will cut these 2 buttons XML codes and paste inside the layout. But also, I should choose layout with wrap content for this layout. Great, so now we have one main layout, and its orientation is vertical. And also, we have 2 child layouts, and their orientation is horizontal. And then every horizontal layout has 2 child layers, and these are buttons and text views. Now, after the linear layout, we can continue with the relative layout. And I'm just going to delete these components. And I will change linear layout to relative layout. So how does the relative layout work? Probably the best way is to show you. So components are placed right in each other's position within the relative layout. I'm just going to add 2 buttons to show you how relative layout works. You you can see that these two buttons took place on top of each other because we haven't given them any position. So now I'm going to change the first button text to be a capital letter A, and its ID will be a lowercase a. And for the second button, I will change its text to be capital letter B, and its ID will be lowercase b. So now let's go to the XML side, and I will first find the button and add a new line of XML code. And this code is layout center horizontal true. Now button A takes a place center of this row. And I'm going to add another line of code. So this time, center vertical is true. Now button A took place center of the screen. And now I will give a place to button B according to button A, or relative to button A. Yeah, see where we're going? And I'm just going to add a new line of code in the XML code of button B. And this code is layout below IDA. Now button B will take its place under button A. Now if I want button B to be in alignment with button A, I should just add a new line of code. Layout center horizontal true. And now button B is under button A. Now, if I want to put button B above button A, I should just write the layout above IDA. And now button B is above button A. So you see in the relative layout of the components, they all take their places according to each other's position. Okay, so now we can have a look at the table layout. In the table layout, components take their places by means of a table position. So in the table layout, there are rows and columns. And now I'm just going to delete the relative layout and write table layout. Also, we need to add some rows in this table layout. So I'll add 3 rows. And then after that, I can add 3 buttons for each row. So now we have 9 buttons on the table layout in a table position. So where can I use a table layout? Let's say, for example, I want to design a calculator. We can use the table layout. So I'm going to change these button text to 1, 2, 3, and you see where we're going. And of course, you can use more than one layout in your design. So I think that wraps this video. We'll continue in the next one. See you then. Text views. Hello everyone, it's time to talk about text views in this video. So we spoke about components in Android Studio in the last video. We mentioned some layouts, and right now we're going to talk about which Android components to place on these layouts. One of them is text view. So what exactly is text view and what can you do with it? So text view is a component to show text to the users. I know it seems elementary, but stay with me. You can use text views as labels or to print some results on the screen or to print some notifications on the screen and that kind of thing. Text views can be used in a lot of different areas. So it's pretty much the most commonly used component. So we'll go back to Android Studio and have a look at how text views work in practice. Now we can add text views two different ways to Android applications. And of course the first one is to drag and drop it into the Android Studio like this. All I'll do is drag text view, drop it under the constraint layout. And now we have text view and its text is also text view. So we can change this text whenever we want to. This was the first way. Also, of course, there is another way. Always another way. And I'm just going to delete this text view and create a new one using XML code. And I'll go into the XML side. And now I'm going to write text view XML code under the constraint layout. And I'm writing here, text view, and Android Studio will autocomplete it. Now I just need to give some values for the layout width and height, and I'll just write wrap content for both of them. Now this will define height and width of the text view. Now we have a text view here, but we don't see it because we did not write some text. So I'm going to add a new line of text inside the text view using XML code. I'll write inside text view, hello world. And to do this, I will just need to write Android : text. And inside the quotation marks, I will write text. So whatever I write inside the quotation marks, the text of the text view will be what I write. So now the text of text view is hello world. So I choose wrap content for height and width of text view. And then setting a text view size to wrap content will force it to expand only far enough to contain the values it contains. Right? So if I add new words to the text, the size of the text view will be bigger. And if I change it to a bigger number size inside the text view, the height of the text view will also be bigger. When I change text size to 20 dpi, and the text view size gets smaller, of course. So when I change text size to 40 dpi, text view's size gets bigger, way bigger. Now, on the other hand, I can choose the width of text view as a match parent. So when I write match parent here, text view will cover all of the device screen from left to right. And then also when I write match parent for layout height, the text view will cover all of the device screen from top to bottom. So now I'll choose wrap content for layout height. Now, of course, also I can give numerical values for height and width. So let's give 150 dpi for width and 75 dpi for height. And also I'm going to drag text view to the center of the screen. So when I click text view, I can see the attributes section on the right side of Android Studio. And I can also see all of the operations I can do right here, everything that I can do to text view. For example, I can change the layout margin here. And then when I change the layout margin, text view position will change on the screen. Now, if I write 250 dpi here, text view's position will go down. If I write 150, it'll go up. And I can give numbers from here for left, right, top, and bottom. Layout margin defines the position of the text view. Also, there's another attribute here. It's called padding. If you're not familiar with padding, padding defines the text position inside text view. So if I write 25 in the left box, see how the text will go 25 dpi from left to right. So if I write 10 in the top box, the text will go 10 dpi from top to bottom. Also, I can change the text size in the attribute section. So if I choose 24 dpi, the text will be bigger. When I choose 14 dpi, the text will be smaller. Now, all the changes that we made in the attribute section will be added in the background as XML code. Now, if you want, you can write XML code to do the same operations, or you can use the attribute section. So let's see what else we can do in the attribute section. We can change the background color from here. I will choose color accent as a background color. And now the background of text view is changed like so. There's gravity here. You can define text position automatically inside the text view from here. So I'll choose center, and text will take the center position vertically and horizontally. But if I choose this, I'll need to change gravity to 0. And now we can change text color from here as well. So for example, let's say that I want to choose white, and the text color will be white. We can do a lot of operations from here. But also we can do these operations on the Java side. You don't think I was going to leave that out, do you? But before we work using Java code, we will need to give an ID to this text view. You remember when we talked about it before? So on the Java side, this text view needs to be given an ID in order to be recognized. So I'm going to give it text example as an ID. And now our ID of text view is text example. And text of text view is hello world to the human. So let's go to the Java side. First up, I need to call text view as my class and give a name to this text view. And I'm going to use this name on the Java side. You can give it a name, whatever you want. I gave the name text. You know, I'm creative that way. Now, after that, I do need to call this text in the create method. So I will write text equals, and I will write find view by ID. And I will call text view from the XML side using its ID. And I'll write inside the parentheses r.id.text example. So see, now we have assigned text view to the text we created on the Java side. Now I can do all of the operations that I've done on the XML side here, but how will I do this? I'll just write text here, and I will add point here. Then after the point, I can see all of the operations automatically. And I can set a new text from here. So there are plenty of operations here that I can choose from. For example, I can choose set text color. So I'll choose a color, writing color dot black. And then when I write this code, nothing has changed on the XML side. The changes will be applied when I run this application on the device. So I'll click Run. And then, after the device opens, I can see the changes in the application. So it'll take some time to get to the device online. There we go. Now you can see that the text color is black. Cool. Okay, so also I can change the text using set text code. I'll write text.setText, and inside the parentheses, I will write new text. I want to change, and I will write this as an example. But you should be careful now. You need to write text inside the quotation marks, right? And I'll just run it again. There you go. Now you see that the text is changed. So in addition, we can add a feature to text view. And if we click to text view, we can start the operation. So for example, when we click onto the text view, we can open a new activity, or we can change the text size or text color. So let's try it like this. How are we going to do this? I will add a click listener to this text view. You see it? I will write text.setOnClickListener, and then inside the parentheses, new view on click listener. And I will write new codes inside the onClick method. Now, of course, these codes will work only when I click to the text view, right? I will write inside the onClick method text.setTextColor. Color.white. Click Run again. And after a while, the device is running. And now you can see here that there's not any changes in the text view. How come? After I click on the text view, the code will work and the text color will be white. So let's change the background color of the text view. I will write text.setBackgroundColor, color.black. And I'll click Run again. Now you can see that after I click Text View, the text color will be white and the background of the text view will be black. So we can do a ton of other operations here. But for now, that's enough for one video, believe me. There are other components that we need to learn, so make haste. I'll see you in the next video. Buttons. Hello, everyone. I want to speak about buttons in this video. No, not the ones on your jumper, your sweater, anywhere else, your shirt. Buttons on Android components. So when you click on buttons, buttons will do specific operations. Buttons are one of the most useful components, and I'm thrilled to be able to tell you about them. So if I want to count 3 of the most used components, I'll definitely say buttons, text views, and edit text. So in the last video, we spoke about text view. This video is about buttons, and we're going to speak about edit text in the next video. I know, I'm transparent, aren't I? So let's go ahead into the Android Studio without losing any more time. So we have an open project from the last video, and we have a text view in this project. So now we're going to add a new button to the project. And as you perhaps remember before, we can add a new button in two ways. First one is drag and drop. Boom, I added a new button. And of course, I can drag it wherever I want and change my mind. And that's because I use constraint layout. Just snaps like that. Now, the second way to add a new button is by using XML code. So why don't we add a second button using XML code? Now, just go over to the XML side, and you can see here XML code that I've added a button before. I'm going to write button here, and Android Studio will autocomplete it. Okay, so now I need to define height and width, and I'll choose match parent for two of them. And you can see here we have a second button, but it covered the whole screen. So I'm going to change height to wrap content. Okay, so now the button covered the screen just from left to right. Now we need to give some text to this button. And I'm going to write here Android text, and inside the quotation marks button 2. And now you can see the button and button 2. So why don't we change the width of button 2 to be wrap content. And now we have two buttons. The first one is created by drag and drop. The second one is by using XML code. Now we can do a lot of operations with these buttons, right? We can do these operations in the attributes section. So we can define height and width here. We can specify layout margin from here. Also, we can define padding here. You remember that I mentioned that before, right? Padding defines the text position inside the button. So let's just go over it again. If I write left 20, text will go 20 dpi to the left. Also, when I write 20 dpi, text will go 20 dpi down. Now I can change the button text from here too. So I'll just write in here quickly, do your magic, and you can see the button got bigger because the button width is wrap content. Okay, so when the text gets longer, the button will get bigger in order to cover the text. And I can change the background color of the button from here as well. And I'll choose a color from here, and the button color will change. Now also I can choose the button to be clickable or not. Now you can probably think of why I put a button in the project, and I didn't do it to be clickable. So if I do not click the button, why did I put a button there? Well, this is important because you can do regulation on your project, and you can do your buttons to be clickable after some other operation. So in other words, before these operations happen, the button will not be clickable. You get me? For example, if you design a game and inside the game there is a next section button, but you don't want the player to pass on to the next section before they, I don't know, make a, specific score. Well, you can specify that after the player collects a score, the next section button will be clickable. So then the player can pass to the next level after they make the required score. Also, we can change the text color from here. We can change the text size from here. Also, another important thing, we can do our button to be visible or invisible. Now you get it. So if I choose invisible, the button will not be seen. So this feature, of course, can be used for the same purpose and that I mentioned about being clickable or not clickable. Inclickable, I almost said. Inclickable. All right, so now we need to give this button an ID to be able to work on the Java side. So Android Studio gave this button an ID. It is button. All right, so if you want, you can change it, but you know what? I'm going to change it, and I will give it the ID do magic. Great, so now the ID of this button is do magic, and the text of the button is do your magic. So are you ready? Let's go over to the Java side. So there are some codes here before we wrote, so I'm going to delete some of it. And now I need to define that button in here. So I expanded import part above. And you can see here when I defined text view, Android Studio imported android.widget.textView. Now you must import it in order to work with TextView. And in the same way, when I write here button and I do not choose autocomplete, the word button will be red because we did not import the button class inside the project. So that means I'll just need to import the button class. How am I going to do that? See here, when I write button, and then after that I press Control and space at the same time on the keyboard. After that, Android Studio will show me what I can import. And then I'll just double-click Android.widget as my option. And you see here, Android Studio imported Android.widget.button. And the button word is not red anymore. So now I need to give a name to this button in order to work here on this button. Let's see, I'll give the name button, but you can give whatever name you want, of course. Also, I'm going to need to define this button inside the onCreate method. So I'll write button equals find view by ID. I will write inside the parenthesis r.id.doMagic because the ID of my button was doMagic. So now I've defined the button on the Java side. I can do everything in here. So I will write button after dot, and you can see the operations that I can do. Now I will add a click listener, and inside the parentheses, new view on click listener. And then after that, I write inside the onClick method will be executed when I click the button. And I will write inside the onClick method button.setBackgroundColor and inside the parenthesis color.black. So this code will then change the background color of the button after I click that button. I mean, that's a predicted result. We'll run it and we'll see. Whew, boy, it is working. You can see that, right? Cool. So we can do operations on other components from here as well. For example, we can change the text of the text view from here. So let me write text.setText, and inside the quotation marks, I have done my magic. Okay, so let's run it. And you see when I click on the button, text of the text view has changed. Now also I can do invisible for this text view. So I'm going to write text.setVisibilityView.invisible. Let's run the app. And you can see, or you can not see, that it is working. So when I click the button, text view gets invisible. So in other words, you see that it is working because you don't see. Well, okay, well, never mind. You see that invisible is visible. No. Okay. Now I will do the invisible button itself. For my next magic trick. So you see here that there is another button, but when I click it, it doesn't work. Why? Because we haven't written codes for this button. Now, of course, we can do many more things here, but I just want to point out another topic about buttons. I know, I'm button crazed. I'm obsessed. The design of buttons is as important as its codes. So because of this, you need to learn different types of button designs. Do I need to say it again? Button types or button designs are as important as its codes. For example, you would want to shape a button to be oval or circular or rectangular. And then when we want to change the button design, we'll need to create a new XML file. So I will right-click the drawable folder, and then after that I will choose New, Drawable Resources File, and it will open in a new window. Now I need to give a name to this new XML file, and I will give the name Button Shape to this file. Click OK. And now we have a new XML file, and its name is Button Shape. Stay with me. There are some codes here, and these are the codes that when we click each button, how its design will be created. So I will delete these codes because I will not work with this right now. I just want to change the shape. So I'm going to define the shape, writing Android shape oval. Now also I need to choose a color for this button. So there are two types of colors, basically solid and stroke. I will define a solid color. And I'll choose a color from here. But you can choose whichever color you want. I'm not looking, so go ahead. So we defined the button shape, but has anything changed on the main activity XML page? Because we need to set as a background, we created the button shape XML. Now, how will I do this? I'm going to go back to the XML side of the activity main page, and I will change the button background. I will add the button shape XML file under the drawable folder that we created before. And now you can see the button has taken the oval shape. But we defined the width and height to be wrap content. Need to change that too. So I'll change two of them to 150 dp button. Yes, took the shape of a ring. So you can do this square or rectangular. It's up to you. Go, play. You're going to have a great time. It's enough for this video. I will see you in the next one. Edit text. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to speak about edit text in this video. So edit texts are Android components, and it's used to basically get data from the users. You can see edit text in many Android applications, and they get the data from the users, such as name and surname, password, address, all that kind of stuff. Now, there are different types of edit texts, and we're going to see these types in this video in practice. So we'll go to Android Studio and let's have a look around. All right, so here you can see edit texts on the left side of Android Studio in the palette window. And under the text section, its name is plain text. And under the plain text, there are other types of edit texts, such as password input, email input, phone number input, date and time, multi-line input, etc., etc. Now, before we start getting into edit text, let's change the relative layout to the linear layout. And now we can learn how to work with linear layout. So what I did was I deleted relative layout from the XML side and wrote linear layout here. Also, the orientation of the linear layout is vertical, and you can see that here. So what I'll do is I'll drag and drop a plain text under the linear layout, and there we go. We have an edit text. Now, the idea of this edit text is edit text, and the text of edit text is name. So when we run this application, the users will enter data from here, such as name, right? So let's just run it and see what happens. Application running now, so you can see here users will enter their data from here. Now I'm going to delete the word name that we wrote before, and I can just write everything here. You know, also I can always enter numbers from here as well. So let's add another edit text. Let me add password edit text and numerical password edit text and numerical edit text that you can just enter numerical numbers from here, and also the multi-line edit text. And we'll run the application with these edit texts. Great, so the first one is standard edit text, and you can enter numbers and characters. The second one is the password edit text. So when you enter password in this enter text, numbers and characters will not be seen, right? And you can enter this password edit text, numbers and characters. It's alphanumeric, just like you would want it to be. And the third one is also a password edit text, but users can only enter numbers and not characters. Also, numbers will not be seen in this type of edit text. And let's have a look at the fourth one, the number edit text. And then here, of course, users can only enter numbers in this edit text, but the numbers will be seen in this edit text. Now, where can this edit text be used? For example, if you want to, grab a phone number from the user, you can use this edit text, or you want a user to enter his or her age. So when you want the user to enter digits only, this is the type of edit text to use. Now, the last one here is the multi-line edit text, and the user can enter more than one line of information in this type of edit text, obviously. So I will write here some text, just to show you how it works. And then you can see here, after the first line, the second line continues under the first line, just auto-magically. For example, you can use this type of edit text to get user comments or address, or address a complaint even. There are not going to be many of those, but whatever you need it to do. But in the first one, when the user enters more than one line, after the line has finished, the head of the line will not be seen. Of course, we are not done yet. We've just placed the edit text here. So we need to get the information and use it somehow, right? And we will do this on the Java side using Java code. So let's do up an example, shall we? So I'm just going to delete the edit text except the first one. Now also let me add a button and a text view. So I will develop an Android application, right? And the user will enter the name from the edit text, and after they click on the OK button, the name will be seen on the text view. So I'm going to delete the text of the edit text, but it will not be empty. And I will add a hint to the edit text. Now the hint, of course, is a tip given to the user to understand what the user will write in the edit text. I mean, unless you're making a guessing game, but for this example, we're just going to write in the hint section, please write your name. And I'll change the text of the button as an OK. And I also deleted the text of text view. So let's change the design of the application a little bit. Now I'm going to give a layout margin here of 50 dp from top to the edit text. And I will give some space between the edit text and the button, about 30. And in the same way, the button and text view. And let's do, 30 as the height of the text view. And I'll change the width of the edit text. And let's make it 200. It's a little too small. Let's make it 300. Yeah, that looks okay. So in the same way, I'll just change the width of the button to 300. Now, for the text view, I just do the same. So that means I will place these three components into the center of the screen horizontally. So how can I do this? That's when I select linear layout. And then after that, I'll go to the gravity option from the attribute section. And I'll choose center horizontally. And then all the components placed in the center. Now I will add a text on the text view. Could be, result. And I'll change the background of the linear layout. And let's change the background of the other components too. And I'm going to choose white for these three components. That button looks a little big, huh? So let me change it to 200. And now I'll give an ID to these components. So edit text name is for edit text. Button OK is for the button. And text view result is for the text view. So I think it's okay. Let's have a look. We'll run it and we'll see it on the phone. Okay, so the application is working. Now you can see the hint in here. And I write Arnold here, click OK. Arnold should be seen on the text view instead of result. So the application is not doing this right now. Well, because we have not written the Java code, right? That's what you were thinking. So why don't we go over to the Java side and write some code? So the first thing I need is to define these three components. And I'll define edit text. Now, when I write edit text and choose from the autocomplete, Android Studio imports the required class android.widget.editText. So after I wrote edit text, I'll just need to give a name to this edit text. Let's just call it name, just to be clear. Okay, so secondly, I'll do the same thing for the button and give a name, okay. And the last component is text view. I'll just call it result. So now I'm going to assign XML components that I designed before to use these names using the find view by ID code inside the onCreate method. So here I'm going to write name equals find view by ID r.id.edit text name. On the second line, OK equals find view by ID r.id.button OK. And in the same way, the result equals find view by ID r.id.text view result. Yeah, you with me so far? Because it's so far so good. So now I'm going to add a click listener to the OK button, right? So OK.setOnClickListener, and inside the parenthesis, new view on click listener, and autocomplete will take care of the rest. And I'll write code inside the onClick method, and I'll get the data that the user enters in the edit text. But how am I going to do that? You tell me, you're the one who's teaching the course. Okay, what I'll do is I'll write it here, name.getText.toString. So this code will take that text that the user enters in the edit text, and then it converts it to the string, right? So now I'm going to write this string to the result text view. But before I do this, I'm going to need to define a string container, and we'll call that username. I will assign the text that I took from the edit text and put it into this username string. So because of this, I will write here username equals name.getText.toString. And then I can set the username on the text view. And I will write here result.setText, and inside the parenthesis, username. Right, so this is very important, and I hope you understand this. So rewind, set it up again in case you missed something. So what I did was I defined a container, and its name is username. After that, I took the text that the user entered and converted it to a string. And then I assigned this text to the username. And then lastly, I set this username to text view. So let's run the application and see how it works or not. All right, so the application opened. And I'll just write here a name and click OK. Good, so it's working, right? So it takes the name I wrote in the edit text and then writes it to the text view instead of result. So I think that's plenty enough for this video. I hope you understood the edit text. Like I say, if not, just rewind and do it again. You'll get the hang of it. Until then, see you in the next video. Image view. Hello, everyone. So today we're going to talk about image view in this video. So image view is an Android component to, guess what? Display images. Now, you know that showing images is really important for your Android application. And if you use good photos, good graphics, and all that, your design's going to look great. And because of all this, image view is important to master. So let's get to Android Studio and learn image view and practice. Okay, so you know that we have this project from before and we'll continue to work on it. So I will add an image view in this project. So where do we find image view? It's inside the palette window under the widgets on the left side of Android Studio. And I will drag image view and drop it in the linear layout. Now, first I'm going to rearrange this so that I put it as first component. Now this is a linear layout and its orientation is vertical. Now because of this, all the components will get their place from up to down, top to bottom, right? So when I drop image view, a new window opens. And this window is the resources window. And what I'll do here is choose a picture for the image view. And I'm just going to choose a picture that's inside my project that I had before. And I'll click OK. So now I can see this picture on the phone, but see there's a problem. Because I cannot see the other components. And the reason is the sizes of image view are match parent and wrap content. So the size of my image is too big. And then when image view uses the wrap content for height, the image covered all of the screen from top to bottom. So I will change the layout height and width to 300. And now you can see all the components. So image view is now in the center of the screen horizontally. Now because I chose layout gravity center horizontal for my linear layout in the last video, all the components are placed in the center of the screen horizontally. Now, if you look carefully, you can see that the image is placed inside the center of image view. So if you want your image to cover all of image view, you should just choose the size of the image exactly the same size for image view, right? So for example, if the size of image view is 300 by 300, then the size of your image should also be 300 by 300, or vice versa. But also, we can do some arrangements within image view. So when I click on this button, some attributes will open and I will go to the scale type. Okay, and we'll choose from here. We've got a few options. So if I choose fit start image, will take place at the start position. And if I choose fit center, the image will be seen in the center. And if I choose fit end, guess what? It'll take its place from the end position. Now, if I choose fit XY, image will cover all of image view. But the image will be enlarged and it doesn't necessarily look good. So because of this, fit center is a good option. However, of course, it's up to you as the designer of your application. Alrighty then, so these are the things that we can do on the design page. We can also do something on the Java side using Java code. But before we go to Java side, I need to give this image view an ID, right? So let's give the image view example as an ID. And now let's go to the Java code side. So what can we do here? Well, let's say, for example, when I click on the OK button, the image in image view will change, right? So then we'll see another image inside image view. So how do we do this? Well, first, I'll need to decide and define this image view on the Java side. And I will write the image view image. I'll give it a name such as image, and you can give a name whatever you want. And now I'll need to define its ID inside the onCreate method. And I'll write image equals find view by ID, and inside the parenthesis r.id.image example. I can do every operation on the image view using image word, and I will write operation codes inside the OK button. Click listener method. And let me just delete these codes that I wrote before. Now I'll write image.setImageResource. But before we continue, I'll need to do one more thing. You know what that is? I'll need to add a second image in my project. That's right. So I will right-click to my drawable folder on the left side of Android Studio and choose Show in Explorer. Drawable folder opens, and inside the drawable folder, I have one picture and its name is A. So I will add a new image to this folder and call it B. And now when I close this folder, I can see my picture B in my project. So now I can call this image. And I'll write inside the parentheses r.drawable.b. All right, everything's okay now. So when I click the OK button, the image will change to image B. Good. So let's run it and see if it's working or not. Application opens. When I click OK, image changes. So you see how you can do a lot of operations like this, but I think it's enough for this video. Play around with that, and I will see you in the next one.